online, councillors and members of the public. Item number 1 on the agenda is apologies and declarations of interest.
Provost, we have an apology for absence from Councillor Crowther. We will now move to an attendance roll call before proceeding to declarations of interest. Can the following members please indicate if they are present at the meeting either in person or remotely? Councillor Armstrong? Present in the chamber. Councillor Brennan?
Present remotely.
Councillor Brooks?
In chamber.
Councillor Cafferty?
Present in chamber.
Councillor Clofferty?
Present in chamber.
Councillor Curley?
Present in chamber.
Councillor Daisley?
Present remotely.
Councillor Hellier?
Present in the chamber.
Councillor Jackson?
Attending remotely.
Councillor Law?
Present remotely.
Councillor McCabe?
Present chamber.
Councillor McCormick?
Present in the chamber.
Councillor Maguire?
Present.
Travis Mackenzie?
In chamber.
Councillor McVeigh?
In chamber.
Councillor Moran?
In the chamber. That's put my cat on.
Councillor Nelson?
Chamber.
We used to no.
Councillor Quinn?
Present remotely.
Councillor Reynolds?
Present remotely.
Councillor Robertson?
Present remotely.
Councillor Wilson?
Present in the chamber.
Are there any declarations of interest?
Thank you. Item number 2, the minute of the meeting of the last Environment and Regeneration Committee, special meeting held on the 30th of June. It's on page 1 of your papers, and I would ask Councillor Clocker to approve these minutes.
Thank you, Provost. I'll move this as a true record, and I'll move confirmation of the decision taken with regard to the C paragraph.
Thank you. And I understand that your acceptance of the minute refers also to the private business.
Yes.
Thank you.
Promise.
Is there any otherwise minded?
Yeah, I have an amendment at item C. At on page 2 at the second noted the item C.
Yeah. Mrs. Brown?
Just to clarify, Councillor Brooks, so that's an amendment in relation to the proposal to move the decision of the ENAR committee.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. So that will need to be taken separately. Yeah, thank you.
Item 3 is the implementation of the national strategy for 20 mile an hour speed limits. It's a decision by the Environment and Regeneration Committee, referred for determination by Inverclyde Council. I will go to Mrs. Brown, please.
Thank you, Provost. At the meeting of the Council's Environment and Regeneration Committee on the 30th of June this year, members considered a report with the subject implementation of the national strategy for 20 mile/hour speed limits. Following a decision being taken on the recommendations within that report, 4 of the members present and voting confirmed support for a request made by Councillor Brooks, and in line with Standing Order 66E, and the committee's delegated power was not exercised, and that decision would therefore be referred sent to Council. Details of votes and a referral request are set out in the minute, which members have just read. A copy of the report that was presented to the Environment and Regeneration Committee is set out in Appendix 2, with supporting maps set out also. It is recommended that Council notes the referral of the decision and now considers the original report and recommendations therein, and decides whether to approve the decision made by the Environment and Regeneration Committee. Happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions in the process to Mrs. Brown? Thank you. Regarding the presentation of the business, Mr. Montgomery will not present the paper as he did at the Environment and Regeneration Committee meeting, but will take questions of a technical nature if anybody has such. before I go out, open it up, I would ask Mr Montgomery, on page 9, we have the sort of timescale chart. And on this timescales chart, it does the initial implementation, signs and lines from July 25 to January 26, public feedback February to April 26. So I take it this is not a public consultation. It's we'll implement it and then the public can decide whether they like it or not. Is this not something that should have went to a public consultation? And if the public feedback is negative, is there a mechanism in place that could recall a decision or the decision that will be made today by this council? That if the public are so determined against that decision, is there a mechanism, a vehicle that we can reverse that decision?
Thanks, Provost. And just before I answer that question, on the table that's presented in the June report under 3.13, as a result of the...
You speak into the microphone, please.
Sorry, as a result of the decision not being made in June, all of these timescales effectively move on 2 months. So for the implementation of the signs and lines, you're now looking at by the end of the current financial year, so by March 2026. And again, for the public feedback, I'll move to April to June 2026. So everything's moved on 2 months, but effectively the same main activities are staying within the financial years as previously advised. On the question that you asked, the public feedback element in that table is a non-statutory consultation, and we don't have to consult as part of temporary traffic regulation orders. So that part of it is a non-statutory consultation. The purpose of that is to get feedback from the members of the public, as you rightly said, on how they think the implementation has went, has it been effective, are there issues, and that allows members of the public and officers to review what's on the ground ahead of promoting the permanent speed limit orders, which is the next stage of the process. So the next stage of the process, and it's outlined in that table, is the promotion of the speed limit orders, and as part of that there will be a further statutory consultation. So there's two chances for the public to feedback in the overall process and to make changes to what is implemented on the ground. And as part of that speed limit order process, obviously if we receive objections, then that has to come back to the committee to then ratify before we make it permanent.
So there's no public consultation at all at this stage, and we're just asking for a non-statutory feedback. So there's no vehicle to reverse any decision made by this council, one way or the other.
Not for the initial implementation via the temporary traffic regulation orders, no, because that's not required.
Okay. The other question I would ask, on the same chart, it says with maintained objections, as if that will prolong the process. Can you explain to the council the definition of maintained objections and what that could entail?
Yeah, obviously, it's similar to any other traffic regulation order that we put in front of the Development Regeneration Committee. There is a process and there'll be a statutory consultation. There is the opportunity for people to object to that if those objections come in, and there's engagement with those objectors. If those objectors do not remove those objections, then they are maintained objections, and there will be a process to follow, whether it's through the council's committee structure or through a reporter, to then review those objections and bring that back before the relevant committee for formal approval or yeah.
Right, thank you. Are there any other technical questions to Mr Montgomery? Councillor Brooks, please. Thank you. Councillor Brooks.
Thanks very much. Yeah, and actually further to the point that you brought yourself, Provost. So statute says that we don't have to do consultation for the temporary TROs, is that right? Okay, but with the promoted SLOs, we will have to do. Is there anything that statute stops us to reversing those? So it says we don't have to do a consultation, but could we do a consultation?
I'm not sure I completely understand your question. At
Apologies.
what stage are you asking to do a consultation?
Okay, so we're going to put them in and then we're going to consult them and make it permanent. That's in layman's language. Okay, so could we consult now before we put in the temporaries? Would the legislation allow us? I know it doesn't determine, but would it allow us, or would legislation bar us from consulting now?
That's a legal question rather than a technical question.
I'm not aware of anything that would bar us, but I couldn't say categorically.
Listen, I had it.
Okay. Are there any other questions to Councillor Nelson?
Yes, bearing in mind, the opposition that there has been in Wales, I think about 75% people that responded to a YouGov poll were against it. And I know that there's been a small survey done in Wims Bay.
At this stage, Councillor Nelson, can we restrict it to any
I'm going to ask a question.
Yeah, thank you.
In Wims Bay, 82% of the people that responded to that one were against this happening as well. So if the public, when it does go to consultation, are against it, and the council decides on the basis of that we're going to reverse this, what would be the cost, would you estimate, to reverse it?
I don't think I have it off the top of my head, but it would obviously involve removal of signs and potentially burning off of some lines on the ground. It wouldn't be a significant cost, it would be relatively minor, depending on the extent.
Councillor McVeigh?
Yeah, thank you, Provost. Provost, apologies for preempting you here, but I've been sitting by regeneration. I haven't had the opportunity to answer any questions. I'm just wondering if that would be allowed.
You haven't. You haven't what, sorry?
I haven't had the opportunity to ask any questions on the original report from the Environment Regeneration, and I would like to do that today.
Yes, absolutely. And, feel free to question Mr. Montgomery on any points that you.
Okay, first question. They may not be off Mr. Montgomery, but at 3.6 in the report from officers, it says the average speeds and residents of the streets of Inverclyde are generally under 25 miles an hour. If we move along to 3.14, Transport Scotland guidance Bedford October states that the streets with a speed on 25 miles an hour, there's no speed management required. So the reports tell us the average speeds are less than 25 miles an hour. The guidelines are saying we don't need to do anything. So my question is, why are we spending up to £478,000 on signs when the guideline says we don't have to?
Mr. Montgomery?
For you, Provost, I think that 3.14 is there to explain what the process is for monitoring post-implementation and what the guidance is around what measure may or may not be required depending on the results of the speed monitoring. The kind of comment made in 3.6 is from officer knowledge and from previous speed surveys that generally, the speeds in these areas are under that limit, but that doesn't mean it can be enforced. So unless we put in these formal speed limit orders, there's no way of enforcing that. So that's the whole purpose of putting these permanent orders in place, that it can be enforced.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Montgomery. Let's move on to page 3.3. We've got some statistics that are put forward. Do you have a breakdown of the reasons for collisions where there's been road casualties? Do you have a breakdown as how many is down to speed or driver error or potential road conditions? Do you have a breakdown of that we could see?
I don't have access to that today. It's something I can take away and see if it checks that exists, but I certainly haven't got that here today.
Okay, thank you. And again, Provost, we have the stats are from 2022. Do we have any other stats from 2023 or 2024 that we can see today?
No, I don't have any other statistics. No.
Okay, thank you. And again, Provost, 2022, 23, 24, do we have any statistics for Inverclyde itself? Because this is a decision which will affect Inverclyde, and I would like to see some stats today if we can see them.
I don't have any of those statistics, and generally these statistics are take time to compile, so that they may not be available for that.
Thank you, Thomas. This is a board's decision and it's been various views on it. And in order for myself to make a decision today, one way or the other, I would like to see them statistics. So I would suggest that we adjourn this meeting to a later date so we can have that information. I'm happy to move that as a motion at this stage if that's okay. Mr. Brown, thank you.
Do you have a seconder to propose an adjournment?
Happy to second the motion.
Is that an order, Mr. Brown? Is there anybody otherwise minded?
Yes. Thomas, what do you expect? Councillor,
I've moved.
Councillor Doherty has moved the motion. Councillor Brooks had indicated he was moving an amendment. Now he's seconded a separate amendment. So I think we need to clarify Councillor Brooks's position that Councillor Doherty has moved the motion and his motion will be seconded.
I was just about to go to Councillor Doherty to propose his motion. In fact, I can get a second.
Well, probably due respect, you did ask if anybody was otherwise minded to and make a motion that was moved to a general meeting. So yes, I am otherwise minded. My group is otherwise minded, and I'm presuming the SNP group are otherwise minded.
Robert, I'm happy to second Councillor McVeigh's motion if that helps matters.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Spirit.
Okay, so the original motion and amendment was a way of giving notice in terms of the fact that you would give a motion and amendments wasn't seconded, so neither of them were seconded. So we're not at that stage yet. So I think it would be helpful for us to clarify what's the motion. Do you have a seconder for your motion? What's the amendment? Are there two amendments so that we can understand what we need to do a vote on today? So Councillor Clougherty, are you proposing?
Yeah, and maybe that's where the confusion comes, because I thought, see, paragraph, all I'm doing is confirming the decision that's been made already by the Environment and Regeneration. So I've actually already moved that as confirmation of the decision that was made in Environment and Regeneration. If I've then got to redo that and say it again, then I'll do that now. But I thought the whole idea of a C paragraph was me moving confirmation of the decision that was taken under that C paragraph, if that makes sense to you.
Okay, do you have a seconder?
Yes, yes, I'm happy to second.
And the amendment, Councillor.
Okay, so the amendment, for those who are environmental generation, it's the exact same amendment, so I will read it because obviously I realise that there are people who are not. As the Council opposes the 20 mile speed limit, acknowledges the funding from the Scottish Government and asks it to reallocate the 4,780. It requests that the funding is redirected as appropriate and to Scottish Fire and Rescue as a suggestion. It highlights the financial concerns that this council has, that 20 mile speed limits is funded with a shortfall of 113,500. We have to use some current resources. It also notes that council funding could be reallocated to speed reduction measures on road alterations that council officers and elected members already has. This motion is with officers, by the way, and the fifth point of the motion is cost analysis. To reflect on the cost analysis of implementing a 20 mile speed limit, it's a significant burden on UK taxpayers. That amendment was emailed to officers today. If we have an opportunity to circulate it, I have a number of copies here that we can, but it's exactly the same as we tabled the ENR. So that may alter paperwork running around the tables. Thank you.
And that amendment, I think, can be found within the minutes of the committee meeting. Yeah, and do you have a second for that? That's okay.
I'll second it. Second it.
Thank you, Councillor Nelson. Now, Councillor, your adjournment amendment?
Yes, Provost, I move that we need to be adjourned to later date until we get I get the information requested. I'm sure it'll be useful for our members as well. Thank you.
And correct in saying that Councillor Wilson will second that.
Correct?
What between the two assignments?
So just in terms of process,
I'll just say, we're in now the debate, and members are entitled to speak in the debate, and then move the motion to close the debate. So I wish to speak in the debate, and I'm sure there's others that may wish to speak in the debate rather than go straight to the vote.
Yeah, we can do that. Is that in order?
yes, absolutely.
Regarding the debate, regarding the 20 mile an hour speed limit, and I
Provost, I asked if I could ask the questions on the report. My understanding was after I asked a question and any other questions, we would then move into the debate. As far as I'm concerned, we're still discussing by motion following the question asked. So
we've had the proposers and seconders though. So now we're at the debate stage.
So does my motion not count then?
No, we'll come back to your motion.
There's a motion and 2 amendments.
Well,
But there are members
we're
wanting.
going to have a debate and I don't have the information which I require to make a decision.
Well, hopefully during the course of the debate you'll acquire some information.
Mr. McCormick's already told me he can't give us that information today.
If there are amendment witness.
Promise, all due respect, there are a number of members around this table who believe they do have the information to make a decision today and don't support Councillor McVeigh's amendment. If Councillor
Let's have
McVeigh...
a vote then.
Yes, we'll have the vote after we have the debate.
So there will be an intention to have a vote, with both amendments against each other first, and then the winning amendment against the motion as normal. I think we do need to hear what each party's or each member's decisions are on that and what their thoughts are on that. So the debate should come first, and then we'll have the vote. But your vote will absolutely.
I open the floor to the MD wishes to contribute to the debate of the 20 mile an hour. Councillor McVeigh.
Yeah, thank you, Promise. I'm not a member of the Regeneration Committee, like Councillor McVeigh, but you know this matter has been discussed and debated in more than one committee and at length by the Environment Regeneration Committee. And it's disappointing we find ourselves here today because I certainly believe it was the settled will of this council that we were committed to a phased introduction of more 20 mile an hour zones. We've seen that obviously in the ones in town and valley centres, and we were committed to rolling them out around schools as a priority. To some extent, this national approach has overtaken that process, but I thought there was generally an acceptance that 20 mile an hour zones were a good thing in the right places and would make a difference, would make our streets safer. And I'm disappointed that we're now at this point where we're clearly fractured around this particular issue. I don't necessarily know what the reasons are. I am disappointed in Councillor Brooks' amendment where he says opposition to 20 mile an hour speed limit. So does he want us to take away the 20 mile an hour speed limits we've already got? Certainly the one in Kilmacombe, Councillor Wilson enthusiastically supported and in fact indicated to our mutual constituents he was keen on rolling out 20 mile an hour zones further around the village and through our ward. I think the proposal to ask the government to allocate the funding to Scottish Fire and Rescue just completely ups up the effort cost and is political. But pretty low head. He knows it. There is absolutely no chance that the Scottish Government will allocate that money to Scottish Fire and Rescue. It creates a nice headline. I actually had more sort of support for the view that Councillor Nelson expressed at the committee an amendment that he had moved. Obviously didn't receive a lot of support because he had accepted the principle that we should roll out 20 mile an hour zones, but he felt that there should be more roads accepted, and he obviously moved a fair list. Now, I'm quite familiar with quite a lot of these roads, I have to say, and it wouldn't be safe to drive at 30 mile an hour in these roads. I'm just thinking trying to go up Glen Huntley Road or down Glentown the road at 30 mile an hour. You can't get down Glentown the road at 10 mile an hour, never mind 30 mile an hour, and the same goes for a lot of these other roads. But the reality is the proposals before us, which have been through a process of engagement with elected members and have been refined, have recognised some of the issues that elected members have raised, which was about the impact and movement around the district and how we keep commerce moving, trade moving, etc. And I think the proposals that are before us are a good compromise. They do have a number of roads that retain their 30 mile an hour limit, and other roads obviously are beyond 30 mile an hour. But the focus primarily is on our housing estates, our town centres, around our schools, etc. But as has been highlighted earlier in the question, these are temporary traffic regulation orders. They can be amended, they can be tweaked, they can be changed. But what we're not going to do is completely scrap a commitment to 20 mile an hour zones, because 20 mile an hour zones will reduce the level of fatalities on our road. They will reduce the level of injuries on our road. It's proven that they will do that. They will make our streets safer. At a time when I have to say driver behaviour is pretty challenging, and it's not unique to Inverclyde, it happens everywhere, and I think it is important. And there's much blame made of the fact that the police won't be able to enforce the 20 mile an hour zones. They can't even enforce the 30 mile an hour zones. That's the reality. You largely rely on driver behaviour. And yeah, they can come out occasionally with the speed cameras, etc. We can have a few speed cameras about the place, etc. But the reality is, if people want to break the speed limit, they will break the speed limit, whether it's 30 mile an hour or 20 mile an hour. But you hope that by reducing the 20 mile an hour, that the vast majority of citizens of Inverclyde who are driving on our roads will adhere to the speed limits to make our roads safer. And I have to say, the referral to the council, in my opinion, was simply a delaying tactic to try and scupper the proposals going forward. The request to adjourn the meeting for further information, in my opinion, with all due respect to Councillor Bay, is a tactic to delay the implementation of this scheme. I think we as a council should support the motion moved by the leader on the day. I think this is a set of proposals that will make Inverclyde streets safer for our citizens, but they can be amended, they can be tweaked. They're temporary traffic regulation orders, and there will be that opportunity for feedback from elected members, from the general public, from our own officers themselves, and there will absolutely be the requirement when we get to a statutory process for a statutory consultation. And those of us who have served on the environment regeneration project, or currently serve on behalf in the past, have sat in this very room and discussed and debated objections. And we've obviously on occasion we've used an independent reporter and discussed and considered the report from the independent reporter. So there are safeguards here that if for some reason we find it's not working in a particular area, then we can make the change that. But in my opinion, the proposals that are before us for the vast majority of the roads, it's simply not safe to be driving at 30 mile an hour in our housing schemes, around our town centres and around our schools. So I support the motion from the Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor McCabe. Councillor Law, please.
Thank you, Provost. So in the past, this council has stood up to the Scottish Government when the administration felt it was necessary to do so. So for me, this is one of those times when we should be using our platform to pressure them into redirecting these funds into something that will deal with our more acute problems. I don't necessarily agree with the approach of Councillor Brooks in naming what that should be, but we can't deny that there's more important issues facing the public at the minute. Of course, politics is at play here, as the Labour group may struggle to oppose a policy that their party supports in Wales and implemented in Wales in 2023, which is already being reversed on some of the roads there. So evidence from there tells us that the public overwhelmingly object to this policy. Over 100,000 motorists were caught breaking the speed limit, and a petition asking the Welsh Government to rescind and remove the limits reached 500,000 signatures. It's the largest in Wales history. With that in mind, I can't understand why this council so far seemed so intent on implementing failure. The potential failure is also acknowledged within the report, showing the guidance on further implementation measures we can exhaust before consideration is given to returning a road to 30 miles an hour. So how much more money as a council or do our national government have to find for all of this? Are we really saying that this is the priority just now? I find it perplexing, as you can probably tell, that at a time in crisis in public finances, in a climate in which politicians are accused of not listening and not addressing people's real problems, that is eroding faith in politics overall, that we're spending so much time and potentially money on this issue, both locally and nationally. Our local communities being squeezed at the minute by a cost of living crisis. They struggle to get doctors and dentists. They struggle to find a suitable home. The emergency and public services they rely on are facing continual cuts, and we need to start hearing them. So it's for this reason I urge everyone here to seriously consider asking themselves if they think that this is the best use of public money and officer time, and therefore consider rejecting it.
Thank you, Councillor Law. Any other member wish to contribute to the debate?
Ross,
Councillor Moran.
thank you, Ross. I can tell, Sarah, I wasn't going to say this debate because I think the points you put across the both parties have been really good. But Ross, I'm coming from a different point of view. If anyone has ever been to a funeral when somebody's been killed because of a road accident, and you see the complete devastation to that family, the complete devastation to that community, to their pals in school, and the hurt it felt that within that whole community and families because somebody had been hurt with a car because they're going too fast. Now, at the end of the day, I fully understand that there is arguments regarding how we're going to implement this, and if the public want it. I'll tell you one thing. I, for one, have been to funerals where I've seen young people and other people killed because of car accidents. And I felt that pain to this day. And I don't want to feel that pain anymore. And regardless of the cost, I don't care how much it costs. If we say one life, we do this. One life is worth every single penny. And I support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Moran. Any other member wish to contribute? Councillor Cullen.
Thank you, Provost. Like many members, I wasn't planning to actually make a statement today because I think we've been rehearsed. As Councillor McCabe says, it's been a long-standing policy of this council. It's one I've campaigned for a number of years. So it comes down to cost. Cost, we shouldn't do this. It's costing too much money. Got the emotional cost, but the personal cost is. Councillor Moran said, but how much does it cost rather than an accident? How much does it cost? So let's just have some hard facts on numbers because the study's done this, so let's have a look through. The accident costs money. The UK government, UK reported traffic accidents are estimated to cost UK economy £17.6 billion a year. With unreported accidents increasing this to £43 billion a year. Members of the Environment Regeneration Committee will recognise the figures because this is basically what I said, the Environment Regeneration. A small injury costs £30,000, breaking arm, £30,000, break a leg, £30,000, ankle, £30,000. Serious injury, £208,000. And a death, £2.5 million. So it only takes one death to prevent by this. It pays for what we're doing here 5 times over. So it actually saves public purse to implement this. In Inverclyde, we've always a small population, so we won't see the immediate effects initially, because it'll take a time for this to work through. But nationally, it's already been demonstrated in nobody else has actually saved lives. It's reduced costs to the National Health Service. We've seen it in London as well. So it does save money from this. So looking at it with again, it's been Graham's kept his amendment exactly the same as it was before, with the comment about the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service. I was wondering, Stephen, that in my comments here because they're very similar. It is pure political, and I'm sure the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service would have really loved to be consulted on this proposal because I'm sure the whole premise of the Scottish Fire History Service now, as part of the consultation doing, which some of it I don't agree with, is about prevention rather than what you call turning up with blue lights. And this is a good example of this. Prevention is far better than mobbing people off the road. So why 20 miles per hour? Why not 16? Why not 25? Well, the science is clear and the numbers do vary, but the overall impact is the same. You're significantly more likely to survive an impact of 20 miles per hour than 30 miles per hour. We also talk about drivers, and every time drivers go into a car, and everyone's guilty about it. We always think we are the best drivers. We can stop. We've got great brakes. We've got airbags. We've got this. We've got that. We can react to every situation. But we're human. We make mistakes, and we've got to be able to correct those mistakes. And it's much more difficult to correct a mistake at 40 miles per hour than 20 miles per hour. So a 40 mile per hour stopping distance of a car is 36 metres. We all know this, we all know the highway code. It's not changed in the 30 years since I started my driving test, which tells you something. 23 metres at 30 mile per hour and 30 metres at 20 mile per hour. The difference between 40 mile per hour and 20 mile per hour being equivalent to 5 car minutes. So even a reduction of 33 mile per hour on average, as was contained in the original report, would result in a reduction in stopping distance of 4 metres based on an initial speed of 30 miles per hour, almost a car length, and possibly a difference between life and death. So, the SNP group will continue to support the 20 mile proposals as developed by officers. Whilst we are some messages we think will need to be reviewed, there is a process for doing that. We do not think it as a fast proposal. We think it's a package that proposes reach a balance, providing important road safety measures while keeping the majority of arterial routes throughout our life at 30 miles per hour. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cullen. Councillor Hilliard.
Thanks, Provost. I think it'd be wrong for me to sit here and watch anything because I have been that person. I've stood at that scene and I've dealt with it. Dealt with 2 5-year-olds who were knocked down and killed in the roads, of which the speed limit would not even reach 20 miles an hour. What I find a bit disappointing is I don't see any difference in argument from the councillors who are opposing it to give me a reason to make them think that they're going to make the driving any better in any of their suggestions. Certainly to transfer the money over to Scottish Fire and Rescue Service is not going to make the driving any better in the town. You just have to look about just now, you'll see the standard of driving in the town, you'll see the speed of the motorists, and you'll see how things are absolutely going the opposite way. Motorists are driving far too fast. You just have to look in the daily paper and you'll see the recent road accidents that are taking place here. And it doesn't take too much consideration to realise there's one big element in that's speed. So I'm really disappointed to hear it. But if the councillors who are opposing this motion can give me a reason today as how they plan to remedy it, and I know enforcement is obviously a remedy, but only enforcement will happen so long, as well as the police officer standing at the side of the road with a speed camera, and then it will goes back to normal. So I would be interested to see how they want to change the driving procedure back to a safe manner. Thanks, Provost. And that was the.
Thank you, Councillor Hilliard. Councillor,
is it for me to sum up the debate? But you've moved an amendment, so you can't speak in the debate. That's my understanding. Again, I'll bow to our legal, but if you've moved an amendment, second amendment, then you don't speak in the debate. You can only speak once. And if you've done that, we'll move an amendment or second an amendment.
We can speak as part of their something more.
Yeah. No, I permit Councillor Brooks and Councillor McVeigh to speak in, as part of their summing up, and then I'll come to yourself. And it's just a fairness. Okay. Councillor Brooks.
Thank you, Lord Provost. The reason is to address some of the points that we brought up, also I couldn't address the advance because, yeah, they've been brought up against my amendment. So let me tackle some of the issues one at a time. This is not about finance, which was the point that you brought, Christopher. This is not about finance, and I'll go on to expand that in a moment. Obviously, yeah, item 5 of the amendment is asked the council to reflect on spending of taxpayers' money, but we should do that all the time. We spend lots of taxpayer money. And reflecting on spending taxpayers' money is not saying we shouldn't spend the money. Councillor McKay asked a question about pulling back all the 20 mile speed limits in schools and villages, etc. So it says quite clearly in my motion, it's the progress of the implementation that is to be stopped. It's not to redo and go back to 20 miles an hour. I'm very happy with 20 miles an hour in the right place for road safety, because this is about road safety. This isn't about politics. I've been challenged twice about politicising. This is about road safety, and not about that, and it's not about funding as well. It's about road safety. So, Councillor Ella gave me a good insight, because obviously you've asked that question, and I'll be able to answer that. So, item 4 in the motion talks about the way we would use funding as appropriate, wherever it came from, whether it's ring-fenced or not, is speed reduction measures that have already been identified by senior council officers, professionals, and put forward by elected members. Some people call them the pinch points in Inverclyde. Places in our road structure that we know where we have lots of RTCs or potential traffic issues. So these are the areas that we would implement speed reduction areas with the money that would be available. Clearly, happy to spend taxpayers' money in the right place. But I would also suggest, Councillor Heather, that there is 10 points within the amendment that's been tabled that actually talks about road safety and alternative measures for road safety. For the duration of time, I'm not going to go through the 10 points. I would say I was a bit nobbled by the Provost if I did. But let me summarise very quickly. Enhanced signing, improves environment, community engagement, infrastructure improvements, technological solutions, and variable speed limit solutions. Some are our gift, I understand, some aren't our gift. So, Councillor Heather laid out is 10 points of how we reduce the speed limits. Sorry, how we reduce the vehicle traffic within Inverclyde is clearly there. And finally, before I sit down, prior to taking up or getting involved, in politics, I was involved in the church, and I led funerals of young people, and one young person in particular who died in RTC. So I wholly understand, Councillor Moran, the issues that you brought up, the heartache, and that's why I want to see implementation of measures that stop road deaths. I don't believe 20-hour blanket would do that.
Thank you, Provost. Provost, I've never been asked in my years as a councillor by anybody to make Inverclyde a 20 mile an hour free zone. What I have been asked many times, is to try and do something about Cornhaddon Street, Brocker Road, or Old Inverkirk Road and Brashford Street. And it's not just my area. We hear it regularly, we see it in the press. Albert Road, Burns Road, Old Glasgow Road, coming out of Kilbercombe. The people are telling us where the issues are. That is where we should be addressing road safety. That is where we should be implementing traffic measures. That is where, if we do that, we can save lives. We can save lives. These people live there, they know what's going on in the road areas. That is where we should be directing these resources, and we should be challenging the Scottish Government to let us address the areas where there are genuine concerns, rather than going for a blanket. Because how many times you hear it, it's an accident waiting to happen. Never hear it in my street. It's a wee small street, you can't do any more than probably 20 miles an hour anyway. Thank you, Provost.
Thank you, Councillor McKay. Before I go to Councillor Poverty, is there any other member wishing to contribute? Councillor Poverty, the floor is yours.
Right, thank you. Members would like to know what will be brief. I think the first thing I want to maybe do is just mention about Kirsty's thing. Kirsty, I totally agree with you. Our problem when we talk to public funds is you're in a political party, you stand in a manifesto. And if you've got a manifesto that says we're moving towards 20 miles zones and the Scottish Government are willing to give you money to move towards 20 mile zones, then you're going to do that because that's what you've said in the manifesto, so that's what you're going to do. So for me, that sort of answers that. The Scottish Government are giving us money for ASN that agrees to our view of what we want to do, or teacher numbers or whatever. then we're going to agree with that. We're not going to go against the Scottish Government just for the sake of going against the Scottish Government. When we've got a neutral wish to do something, then we're going to agree with that. So, you know, politics are about priorities, but when our priorities are sort of linked together, then we're going to agree to it. I'm going to be a wee bit parochial, Graham, I hope you don't mind. And we've looked, I don't know if anybody's seen the pages of the Greenock Telegraph over the last couple of weeks. There's been numerous car crashes in the West End of Greenock. Numerous car crashes. In all honesty, I'm not saying moving to 20 miles an hour would solve all those, but if we get drivers to think a wee bit about their speed, it can do nothing but help that. We've seen cars landing on the roofs, goodness knows what speed they were going at. We've seen cars on embankments, who knows what speeds they were going at. So hopefully what we're trying to do with moving to 20 miles an hour, it's more to do with drivers, to get them to think what speed they're going at. It's like everything else. If you're driving your car and the car says 30 miles an hour, you make sure you're as close as 30 miles an hour as you can. You don't go to 50 miles an hour. Because you know the police are going to do you, and you know you're going to get really serious points in that. So it's all to do with drivers. If they know it's 20 miles an hour, yeah, they might push it a wee bit to 21, 22, 23. But they're not going to go at 40 miles an hour like they would do if it was a 30 zone. That's my own view on that. I would say to Graham as well, Graham, we'll probably be going to a public meeting down in the Imperial Hall next week, right? They've spoken about speeding in the Esplanade for as long as I can remember, for as long as I've been a councillor. See, when I go there next week, I'll be saying the council's implementing a 20 miles an hour in the Esplanade. So I'll be saying that, and I'll be saying that's your problem solved as far as the council is concerned. No car should be doing anything greater than 20 miles an hour. Now, I'll be saying that. I'll be saying speed hump doesn't matter. They should be going at 20 miles an hour. Speed cameras, it doesn't matter. They should be going at 20 miles an hour. That's what I'll be saying at that public meeting. Quite clearly, the council have done their responsibility to try and reduce speeding in the Esplanade. Don't know what you'll be saying there, but I know I'll be saying that, and I'll be saying this is now a policing issue. If the police want to go down to the Esplanade with their zip guns and catch people who are driving at double the speed of 40 miles an hour, double the speed limit, they will get done. And they'll be done massively. So it's just a wee bit to get you to think, because I know that's what I'll be saying, and I know that's why I'm supporting the 20 miles an hour today. So thanks for that. Sorry for coming on a bit.
Thank you, Councillor Docherty. We have a motion, Councillor Docherty. We have also two amendments. Mrs. Brown, please.
Thank you, Provost. So we'll now move on to our roll call votes as between the two amendments. So for clarity, the first amendment, which will be referred to as the motion, is with Councillor Brooks and seconded by Councillor Nelson. And that's as moved at the meeting by Councillor Brooks on the 30th of June, read out today and included in the minute within the papers. The second amendment, which will be referred to as the amendment, is with Councillor McVeigh, seconded by Councillor Wilson, and is a motion to adjourn the decision to a later date. Is everyone clear on what's the motion and what's the amendment?
Yeah, just for clarity, given the fact that we didn't know what amendments were going to be made today before we come into the room, just the Labour Group will be abstaining on the vote between the two amendments.
Just a flag, can you repeat that?
Okay. So you want me to repeat what's the motion, what's the amendment? Okay.
I think it's fair for our colleagues.
Okay, so the motion will be that motion as read out by Councillor Brooks, as moved by Councillor Brooks and seconded by Councillor Nelson, which is the motion that was also moved on the 30th of June at the meeting of the E&R committee. It was read out today by Councillor Brooks and is also included in the papers that members will have received. And that is the motion. The amendment, to be clear, is with Councillor McVeigh, seconded by Councillor Wilson, and that is to adjourn the decision to a later date. You all clear?
Yes. So the first one is those two items. Yeah.
Okay, so I will now proceed to a roll call vote. When I call your name, please advise if you would like to go for the motion, the amendment, or to abstain. Councillor Armstrong. Abstain. Councillor Brennan.
Abstain.
Councillor Ricks. Councillor Cassidy.
Abstain.
Councillor Clopperty.
Abstain.
Councillor Curley.
Abstain.
Councillor Daisley.
Abstain.
Councillor Halier.
Abstain.
Councillor Jackson.
Abstain.
Councillor Law.
Motion.
Councillor McCabe.
Abstain.
Councillor McCormick.
Abstain.
Councillor Maguire.
Abstain.
Provost Mackenzie.
Abstain.
Councillor McBean.
Amendment.
Councillor Moran.
Abstain.
Councillor Nelson.
Motion.
Councillor Quinn.
Motion.
Councillor Reynolds.
Abstain.
Councillor Robertson.
Abstain.
Councillor Wilson.
Amendment.
Okay, so there are 4 votes for the motion, 2 for the amendment, and 15 abstentions. So the motion is carried to the next vote.
No.
So we'll move to the next vote, which will be also motion against amendment, but the motion and amendment will be different this time round. So the motion will be to approve the decision of the ENR committee of the 30th of June as moved by Councillor Clopperty and seconded by Councillor McCormick. That's the motion. The amendment will be the amendment as moved by Councillor Brooks and seconded by Councillor Nelson, and that is as read out today by Councillor Brooks, as moved at the meeting on the 30th of June of the ENR committee and included in the papers that members will have received. Is everyone clear what's the motion and what is the amendment?
Yes, yes, Crystal.
Thank you. I'll now proceed to a roll call vote. When I call your name, can you please advise if you want to vote for the motion, the amendment, or to abstain? Councillor Armstrong. Motion. Councillor Brennan.
Motion.
Councillor Brooks.
Amendment.
Councillor Cassidy.
Motion.
Councillor Clopperty.
Motion.
Councillor Curley.
Motion.
Councillor Daisley.
Motion.
Councillor Halier.
Motion.
Councillor Jackson.
Motion.
Councillor Law.
Amendment.
Councillor McCabe.
Motion.
Councillor McCormick.
Motion.
Councillor Maguire.
Motion.
Provost Mackenzie.
Motion.
Councillor McVeigh.
Amendment.
Councillor Moran.
Motion.
Councillor Nelson.
Amendment.
Councillor Quinn.
Amendment.
Councillor Reynolds.
Motion.
Councillor Robertson.
Motion.
Is that motion?
Motion.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
Amendment.
Thank you. So there are 15 votes for the motion, 6 for the amendment, and the motion is carried.
Thank you very much, members. Thank you very much for your attendance here this afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thanks all.